There's a magnet on this bad boy and I didn't want to let go. It is time for Summerween. Have I ever done a Summerween readathon before? No. I'm flippin' stoked for this one. Hey kids, I'm Mrs. Pizza and this is a reading vlog. I am currently sitting outside because I'm trying to get as much outside time before it is 1,000,000 degrees out here. It's about to be. It's about to be hot as hell. It's about to be hotter than a demon's backside out here. Also, I'm itchy. I'm pretty sure I'm covered in ants, but I'm living my best life. I'm going to do the Summerween readathon, which is going to be a little bit difficult for me because I think it goes from like a Friday. My days off are a little bit different than everybody else's days off, so it's going to be interesting to see if I can read as much as everyone else. I'm really not going to. It's not a contest. It's a readathon. It's not a contest. So I'm going to be nice to myself. And I'm not going to pre-pick any books. I'm just going to try and work within the prompts and see if I can tick them all off the list. That's the plan. But I do know which book I'm going to pick up first. And it's inside and I'm not going to get it right now. I am going to be picking up You're Not Supposed to Die Tonight by Kalynn Bayron. I believe this is a YA horror, but it has red on the cover and that is one of the prompts. Okay, so future Mrs. Pizza coming in to help this girl out because Lord knows what she's talking about. So that is not one of the prompts, and I'll put the prompts up on the screen so you can see. The first one being to read a book in the dark. The second, to read a thriller. The third, to read a book that takes place in the fall. The fourth, to read a book with orange or black on the cover, not red, girl. I don't know where you got that from. And 5, read a manga, graphic novel, or novella. There we go. Everybody cleared up? We got it? Because I don't know what the hell I was talking about. I think it's a horror and not a thriller, though. So I think it only counts for one unless I decide to read it in the dark, which I could. I could turn the lights off. This is already chaos. I'm already rambling. But I'm going to get one of my pumpkin decorations out of storage, and I'm going to enjoy the heck out of this Summerween. Because by the time it hits 4th of July, it's almost Christmas anyways, so... All right. First of all, you can probably hear the air conditioning. Again, I live in Satan's butt crack right now. We are not turning the air conditioning off. It's not happening. It can't happen. Second of all, my hair is still damp and it's already this large. Just imagine how big it's going to be. I have gotten to around the 50% mark of You're Not Supposed to Die Tonight, and I thought we'd chit chat about this. So, having gotten to the halfway point, this is I'm going to sneeze again. This is a YA slasher type horror. It is taking place on a summer camp, and we are following our main character, Charity. Oh, close. Our main character, Charity, and she is our resident final girl. She works at this summer camp where every year throughout the summer, people can pay to have the experience of a slasher horror type movie that was filmed at the same location. So people show up and pay to be chased around in the woods by a man wearing a mask so they can get the full horror story experience. Charity is kind of running the camp even though she's about 17 years old. There is someone that owns the camp and he is supposed to be in charge, but the adult is not on the premises. So this is just a group of teenagers that are running this horror experience summer camp. And then some kind of creepy things start happening almost immediately from the beginning. I mean, they're at a summer camp in the woods all by themselves, and it's the perfect location for some creepy stuff to go down. I think we are going to learn there is more to this location than any of the camp counselors, as we're going to call them, the people that work at this horror camp, are actually even aware of. And this has got that kind of Scream vibes to it, where it's a horror book where the characters realize that horror movies exist. You know, where they know the rules of horror movies, they know how to survive a horror movie, they see things and they go, hey, that creepy noise, we don't go out there because that's how you die in a horror movie. The whole don't go up the stairs, go out the front door kind of thing, because that is the thing that always drives me the craziest. But I know in Scream they actually talk about that, where it's like, why would you run up the stairs when you can go out the front door, and then they do something so they can't get out the front door. Anyways, it's reading super fast. It's a lot of fun. So far, nothing really gruesome has happened. All of the blood has been made of corn syrup. This actually, I feel like, would translate really well into like a Netflix movie because it's kind of feeling very Netflix movie in my brain. But isn't that because there was like a Netflix summer camp movie that came out not too long ago? I have also decided to pick up from my thriller pick. Now, I'm not 100% sure if this is a thriller, but it is shelved as a thriller at my library as an audiobook, so I'm gonna call it a thriller. But that is Stolen Tongues, and this is by Felix. Where are you at, Felix? This is by Felix Blackwell. The cover of this is creepy as all get out. And I have started this, and very quickly you get into a prologue where you have Felix and his then girlfriend pet sitting for a friend when some slightly creepy things happen. The first chapter starts with Felix and his now fiance, same girl, same couple, and they are going off to a little, I think they're fiancés. I don't think they're married yet, but they're headed off to a cabin in the woods together for some vacation solitude. This is actually a cabin that is owned by his fiance's parents, but I don't think anybody has been there in a very long time, and almost immediately creepy, ooky, spooky things start happening. This feels much more horror than thriller, but I'm going to count it as a thriller because my library counts it as a thriller, and who am I to judge the library? Honestly, the library has the last word. I trust their decision-making skills, you know? But I have a feeling that I'm going to finish up this book tonight, which I'm actually kind of excited about. This one has been a lot of fun. I will check back in with you when I have finished this one, and we will see what my next Summerween book will be. I'm not going to apologize for my hair or the air conditioner again, because I feel like that is all I am doing these days, is apologizing for the fact that you can hear my air conditioner and the fact that my hair has a mind of its own. And honestly, you probably don't care about either. And if you do, I'm sorry. There's nothing I can do about it. I also would like to inform you that I have recorded 2 updates that are completely unusable. One where the sound went bye-bye. Just gone, just absolutely gone. And the other one that was outside and the humidity spiked or something while it was out there. And it went from the camera being completely clear to then all of a sudden I was enveloped in a very misty setting. It was very moody. It's very moody, but you can't really see anything. It almost feels like when you used to go swimming indoors somewhere and like everything just felt very humid. I'm describing humidity. Wow. Okay, so what we're going to do is update you all of the updates that I have already talked about. The first book that we are going to talk about is this bad boy, You're Not Supposed to Die Tonight. I finished this one up, and what I will say about it is, if you are looking for a YA summer camp slasher that has that kind of meta, I know how slashers go in scary movies, this was a pretty good ride. I don't 100% love how the ending, what the twists and turns were, but I don't see what else they could have done. I don't have any better ideas. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's a super fast read, and we are following our final girl, Charity, right? I keep wanting to call her Chastity. I don't know what that is about. Following our final girl, Charity, who works at the summer camp, and when things start going crazy, people start getting picked off, just like in a horror movie. If you like slasher summer camps, you're probably gonna like this. And I think this was fun. That's all I really have to say. I can't expound upon its literary impact. It's a horror slasher for summer camps. That's what it gave. That's what I wanted. That's what I got. The next book I finished was Stolen Tongues. And here's what I'll say about this one. I thought this was going to be isolated horror, two people stuck in a cabin together, winter woods outside. That is how the book starts out. And I don't feel like this is really a spoiler, but I'm going to put a little friend up here in the corner. And when it's gone, I will have stopped talking about the things that maybe might be spoilery bits. Now, this doesn't stay an isolated cabin horror. That is, I think we weren't even at the 50% mark when we left the cabin for the first time. And I was kind of surprised. This is not an isolated cabin horror. This is the creepy thing follows you home horror, which is a very different vibe. The cabin is important in ways and sets up the stage for the creepiness, but this is definitely, hold please. Somebody just decided to start playing music really, really loud. And there's only one other person that lives in this house, so give me a moment. I'm currently recording right now.
I'm trying to find music for my new commercial.
That's really fun for you. Can you put your headphones on? Thank you, Steffi. Yes. Yes, I'm sorry I stifled your creative juices. Look at you two just chewing together. Isn't that precious? Also, how did my shoe get in here? Well, that was fun. Also, the mailman just walked by. His name is Kevin. He's a very lovely human, but I'm sure he's seen me recording before, so whatever. I'm beyond being embarrassed. So, what the heck was I even talking about? Oh, I would say that if you are interested in this book, do not go the audiobook route. I found the narrator to be a little grating, especially when he did our female main character's voice. She was coming across as like irritating, which I don't think she's not supposed to be irritating. You're supposed to be sympathetic. Hold on, she has my shoe. Did you just come all the way over there to hit me with my shoe and then run away with it? What about this toy? You like this toy? I'm surprised that I even remember what I was talking about. This is not a good audiobook. I really think that the audiobook narrator, I want to say was a bad choice. Ugh, I'm sure they're a very nice person. Just how they did the female voice and some of the ways they said things, you become very irritated with our female main character, and that is not the point. You are not supposed to be irritated with her. Also, I will say that as someone that has watched a lot of scary movies, this was obviously a book where like pop culture things existed. They talked about certain pop culture things, and not in a weird way, not in a way that kind of dated it, but more as like they exist in this world. And yet there were certain movies, one movie in particular, and I just feel like if you have seen scary movies where the scary thing is similar to what's happening in this story, you would have tried some of these things out. I don't want to spoil this because I don't think it's a bad book, and I think if you are physically reading it, it's probably pretty stinking scary. But the fact that I was listening to it as an audiobook and I was not meshing well with our audiobook narrator, and also I was waiting for them to do some of the problem solving that I've seen in scary movies, and that wasn't the route they went. That might have also been because I was getting taken out of it by the narrator, and so I was already problem solving different resources. I had different things lined up. If this doesn't work, maybe we should try this. If you're doing this, why are you letting her do that? If that's what causes the bad thing, then we don't do that thing. I'm rambling and you don't understand any of this. Needless to say, if you are interested in this book, and it was a pretty interesting story, go the physical book route. Don't listen to the audiobook. That's my takeaway. And then I actually picked up another book to fill out my prompt for, I believe it was like graphic novel, manga, or novella, and I went with novella, and I picked up the Ballad of Black Tom, and this is by Victor LaValle. I sounded really southern when I said that, and I'm sorry. That's probably, sometimes when you're trying to pronounce things with a southern accent, they just sound crazy. This story is actually based on a story by H.P. Lovecraft, which I believe is called The Something in Red Hook. And the dedication in this book actually says, for H.P. Lovecraft, with all my conflicted feelings. Because one of the things that is kind of universally known at this point is, although H.P. Lovecraft is kind of the founding father, the birth giver to cosmic horror, in the cosmic horror world, and has written a lot of stories that are referenced and have influenced other horror stories and movies and TV shows throughout time, H.P. Lovecraft himself was not the best he was a big old racist, for one. And so there's a lot of conversations about separating the art from the artist. And, you know, even though H.P. Lovecraft was kind of a garbage human, how his work went on to influence so many other people. So dealing with that whole bag. And I am not about to start that conversation because, one, a lot smarter people than me are having it. And two, I think he's garbage. As a person, that's all I have to say. He was a garbage person. He was a racist. The end. But this author, who is actually a black man, decided to take this story. I cannot remember the name of it right now, and I have no idea where my phone is because life is chaos. And that story in particular is known for its very racist, not even undertones, but overtones. In some of his works, he tends to be able to slide it in a little bit more subversively, but that apparently... that story, it is just blatant what he's getting at. I have not read it. I do not have plans to read it. I did, however, see a lot of people say, even though that story is considered an important piece of literature in a way, this version of it is much, much better. I wouldn't say this is scary because I am not necessarily scared by cosmic horror. I felt that this was very successful at being a cosmic horror. This is the story of our character whose name is Charles Thomas, is it Smart? Turner. Charles Thomas Turner, right? I believe it's Charles Thomas Turner. Tester. Charles Thomas Tester. He's our main character, and he is a hustler. He lives in Brooklyn in the 1920s and supports himself and his father, who was injured on the job years ago and is unable to work. He barely leaves their apartment now, but Charles, oh, my food just got here. Charles, who is a smart young black man living in New York in the 1920s, has figured out how to hustle, how to make money, how to play the part and work towards people's stereotypes and first impressions to make money to support him and his father. He's not a bad character. He's actually a very smart character. And he sounds like he's a pretty good human overall. The opening of this book is tasked with delivering a book to a woman in Flatbush, Queens. And so he takes the subway all the way out there and is immediately a commotion within himself because he is a black man in Queens. And that is just not something that they saw a lot of at the time. He delivers this book, but this sends him down a path that he ends up tumbling down. Things happen in this book that make you so mad for our main character. I would also say, I don't think it's until like the halfway point of this book. I could tell that this book was happening at some point in the past because of the lack of technology. I think this was written in like the 2000s sometime. When were you written, friend? 2016? I don't know why that number just popped in my head. 2016. But it was obviously supposed to be happening in a different time, but you're not told until about the halfway point that it's the 1920s. You probably could have picked it up. There's some talk of like prohibition and things like that, but this could have easily been set in the 1950s, in the 1970s. It is a story of a young black man living in New York, dealing with racist other New Yorkers, racist police officers, just trying to survive, but having all of these obstacles that are just part of his everyday life. Something horrible happens and it sends him down a path. And the whole point of this story is kind of that monsters aren't born, they're made. And in this story, through circumstances that you kind of understand, you are standing there with our main character, rooting for some of these horrible people to get their comeuppance. And that puts you in an interesting place because the things that our character, the path that he goes down isn't the best. It had a lot of really interesting themes. This reminds me too of, I haven't read the book, but I watched the TV show of Lovecraft Country, which I know is similar in that it is H.P. Lovecraft to kind of retell the stories in a way using racism and the obstacles that causes for people of color. It's like retaking the narrative back from a racist author, which is really, I'm sure, empowering for people that do that. I enjoyed this. It was super fast. I wouldn't say it was scary. Cosmic horror scares you, then maybe it would be for you. And the ending is very, very misanthropic is the word I want to use, which is a very big Scrabble word, and I probably couldn't spell it. And I hope I'm using it correctly in a sentence. Oh, I should get my food off. So far, I have read a book with red or black on the cover. I have read a novella. I have read a thriller. The ones I have left are to read a book in the dark, which I plan on doing tonight, and to read a book that takes place in fall. And I searched so hard all over my bookshelves. But it is really hard to tell when a book takes place. This is the only book that I looked at and I was like, those trees are orange. This looks like, this has got to be it, right? This has to take place in the fall. This is the Saturday Night Ghost Club, and this is by Craig Davidson. I actually believe this is more of a coming of age story than a horror story. I think the Saturday Night Ghost Club, it's not as ghosty as you think it is, but maybe it will be. Maybe it'll be fun. This is actually, I picked this one up because it said if you are fans of Stranger Things or Stand By Me, you love that group of kids all coming together to solve a mystery, do a thing that's out of the scope of something that children their age should be doing. Also takes place in the 80s, so that's some more Stranger Things vibes there. But this is the story of Jake Baker, and he has an uncle named Calvin. Jake, the beginning of the story opens with him as an adult talking about his career as a brain surgeon, and then we flash back to him the year of his 12th birthday, and we're kind of getting a story of how this group of kids all come together, I'm sure to investigate something and uncover darker secrets. So far, I'm actually really enjoying this. I think this is going to be a pretty quick read. I think this will be a fun one to finish out, read in the dark, and I'm saying this takes place in the fall. I have no idea. I'm committing to it. I literally picked up 5 different books trying to find one that happened in the fall, and every single one it would open and be in the dead of winter or in the middle of summer. And I was like, where, unless it says Halloween on the cover, I don't know if it takes place in the fall, and I don't have any books that say Halloween on the cover. Maybe that's what I should have done. I just Googled books that say Halloween on the cover. I probably would have been smarter. I like my choice. I'm going with it. Hopefully some of it takes place in the fall, but hopefully all of this recording happened and all this sound was captured and you could hear the air conditioner and the dogs going bananas and my food showing up in the mailman Kevin. Let's finish out this Summerween.